So great to be here. I'm Pushya. I'm the Principal Product Manager at EngFlow, and I'll use these 10 minutes to tell you about how EngFlow can give you a better developer experience. So there are two problems that we address, slow and opaque invocations. And after these last 2 days, I have no doubt that everybody is facing slowness and opaque invocations at some level. So you start with a slightly slow build, you take a coffee break, it's refreshing, right? Or in the case of that gentleman yesterday, take a cat nap on the couch right here. Pretty soon that turns into, I've got the time to cook a meal and eat it too before my invocation ends. And before you know it, you can run a marathon and be back and it's still not done. For some of you, this is a joke or an exaggeration. But for some of you, unfortunately, this is the reality. So the point I'm trying to make here is code bases are getting bigger. I'm talking in the last 10 years about 100x growth. That's the majority of those companies in that survey. But if you think about yesterday's talks, we heard 20% year-over-year growth and 30% even. So code bases are growing in size. So is the complexity and the build times that are associated with those. They are growing on a ridiculous scale. Now, that's just part of the problem. Pretty often, you're not even sure if your invocation is in progress, if there is an error state, an unusual state. It's really hard to validate. You could be stuck in that warehouse, like in that Indiana Jones movie, and you're constantly looking for information through tens of thousands of log lines. That can be really hard. So, going back to the first problem, the slowness, you can overcome that with remote execution. Now, Bazel provides you these capabilities, and that kind of paves the way for a really powerful remote execution, right? You've got remote APIs, add parallel actions to that, and you get even more time saved. And persistent workers sort of came up in the last couple of days, so most of you are familiar with this too. And fun fact, EngFlow CTO and co-founder Ulf was part of the beginnings of persistent workers implementation. Now, think about everything that EngFlow can provide to you. You have distributed remote execution, which can happen at a much more massive scale than your laptop's compute can handle. On top of that, we provide smart pre-allocation of resources, so several parallel actions can happen at the same time. And lastly, you kind of make the logical extension. You've got persistent workers, you've got a remote environment. Why don't you have persistent workers operating in a remote environment? So that's something we provide as well. There's a video link there. Don't all play this at once, please. It's a link that you can access later if you want to take a picture of it. This is from last year from a Build meetup where Ulf talked about remote persistent workers. So why should you care? Well, if 9x faster is a possibility for you, maybe you're interested. I'm talking about one of our customers, Blue River Tech. They saw 2.5 hours saved on just one build. Think of that kind of time that you can get back. And this is on Bazel. We also support Chromium. And this is one of our customers, Viasat, who saw the build time go down from 24 hours to 1 hour. 24x faster. Just picture that. Now, I want to dwell on remote execution just a little bit longer because we have a few unique things about EngFlow here. We're looking at customers with code bases larger than 20 million lines of code. We're also talking about handling 7 million gRPC calls a minute. And EngFlow can handle 180,000 actions per build. Now, that's a lot of scale. And if you are looking for an enterprise scale solution, I believe I got your attention. This is what it looks like. And we know your code base is continuously growing, so it's not going to stop here. We're going to go from 10,000 cores to much bigger to continue to support you as your code base grows with you. We just talked about performance through the customer stories, but quick point here, we are looking for every way to give better performance for you. So things like scheduling overhead. If your average action is about 200 milliseconds, we don't want to put the scheduling time for that action also in that same order. You want it to be just a few milliseconds, right? And cached files. So if you have source files or header files already on a worker, you can continue to sometimes use them again, so you save time. Now, coming down to the deployment model, cloud-based consumption is available, and for maximum security and compliance on your AWS or GCP infra. Air-gapped model is also supported by Engflow. So basically, we meet you where you are. Last thing I'll point out here is if you have a hermetic tool chain for cross-compilation already on your environment, you can bring that to this remote execution environment too. Another piece that is kind of working in the background of your remote execution is remote caching. And if you are a beginner towards the remote execution concept and you want to start small, that's a place to start as well, remote caching. This is especially helpful when you have incremental builds, and these builds kind of feed off of the cache that is populated by your last CI build. And that can save you a lot of time. And also, this is a multi-machine scalable option for you. Okay, so that was about the slowness part. Now let's talk to how we can make things clearer. Thinking through all of the times you've had to sift through logs, wouldn't it be just nice to have a UI that can give you all of the information about whether there is progress on your build, whether there is an error, if so, how do you fix it, and how do you go about even an unusual state, things like that. So what do you do then? Well, if you have Engflow deployed, as you start your invocation, in the command line output that you get, you have a URL like this, and you can click through on that URL and into this whole new world of the UI. This is the case of a successful invocation. You've got information about the analyze invocation part. Basically, you're trying to figure out what can you do differently about this invocation next time, even though it's been successful. We have some information about Bazel profiles and Engflow profiles as well. I'll just get back to that really quickly in a bit. But going from a successful one, let's take another example of an error state one. Here, you've got an error state. You start with an overview. At least you have a high-level summary of what's going wrong, right? Is that enough? Probably not. So let's see. There is a target tree structure as well that you can click through. And basically, you're going down to where exactly the problem was. So now you know what broke your invocation. This can be really powerful if you're trying to fix it fast and keep moving through your day, so you don't have to run multiple marathons in the same day. This is the console tab. You kind of see the same stream as you might normally do. One thing I want to add here is this is one side of the story. And if you go back to looking at how things might be working right now, if you're sifting through those logs, tens of thousands of log lines in your CLI, that's one way to do it. But that's where you're really interested in looking for buried treasure, like in that warehouse in that Indiana Jones movie. That's definitely one way to do it, but why not the easier way? Oh, and by the way, if anyone can remember which movie I'm talking about, and without looking online, of course, please come talk to me. You might have a sweatshirt in this. All right. So that was one way to click through from your invocation command line output. You click on the URL. This is the other way. You can go straight up to the invocations page. And most often well, not most often, but normally you would have the invocations that are running currently come up at the top. This is an example I picked up from Envoy, where Envoy is this open source project, and Envoy Mobile uses Engflow. So You can pretty much click through on this link right now and see what the experience is like. Another thing here, on the same page, you have the chance to filter. So filter by a username. You want to look at a specific repo or a branch, you can do that. In this case, I was looking for anything that was in a failed state. Now, coming back to the Bazel profiles and EngFlow profiles. Not more than an hour ago, my colleague Sarah was speaking here about Bazel profiles. You've seen how much rich data these profiles carry, and it's really wonderful. When it comes to remote execution, though, Bazel is now a client, so you don't get the visibility into what's happening during that stage of remote execution. That's where EngFlow profile kicks in, and here you get an action level detail of the remote execution. Last thing I'll call out here is related to analytics. Now, analytics is one of the sections in our UI. We collect data points over time about your invocations that will help you improve the invocations over time. As to what can improve is the information you'll get here. So you can see things like how many invocations are being run, how long has it been on each of them. This is the kind of information that can help you continue to build something better every time. More information, is remote execution actually speeding things up, or is it slowing down for you? Is remote execution actually set up correctly? Anything else to do about it? So these are some things you could do with EngFlow. Last thing I want to say is we thrive on an expert team. And we intend to productize this expertise because it turns out cloning the team members is going to take a really long time. I actually checked. And this week, we announced our Series A funding. We're really excited about it. And we will continue to expand our team. So we will continue to build on top of these capabilities so you can get faster and clearer invocations and you can spend your time wisely. Thank you.